What's up, guys? Is the Canon EOS R worth it in 2023? Absolutely yes. And look at this pretty nice setup I have here. This is very nice. But yeah, getting back to the video, is it worth it in 2023? I'm gonna say absolutely yes. And yes, it has its limitations. I mean, you don't have dual SD card slots. You only have a single slot, which is really not a big deal because I've never had an SD card fail on me on this camera, partly because I use high quality SD cards. Like I got the Sony Tough card, and I also use the pro grade cards as well, the V60s and the V90s. I've never used the cheap SD cards, like the Lexars and the Samsungs and those cards. I've heard horror stories about those cards because they will fail on you. So you want to use the good stuff, So having one SD card slot is not really a big deal. You can't shoot 4K 60, which is also not a really big deal because who shoots in 4K 60? Everybody shoots in 4K 24, 4K 30, And don't get me wrong, the 4K video coming out of this thing is amazing. It's very good, And for photography, this camera is awesome. It's going to get you some good footage, in 4K, even in 1080p, it's amazing, and especially paired up with this guy up here, which is the Atomos Ninja 5, you're going to basically step up your game big time, because paired with this thing, it's a must-have because you can shoot C-Log internally at 8-bit, and paired up with the Ninja 5, you can shoot C-Log 10-bit 422, and the list goes on. I'm not going to get into that because that's a totally different video with this guy. But yeah, the camera's been amazing. I've owned the camera for a little under 3 years now. I got it when it first came out, and it's been an amazing camera, Can you use this camera for professional work? Yes, you can. You can use it for professional photography, videography, it's amazing, And yes, it does not shoot 1080 120 or 4K 120. You can do 1080 60, which is, pretty smooth, it's not gonna be buttery smooth like 120, but that's not a big deal, And yes, the 4K has a 1.8 times crop. That's also not a big deal because I usually pair this baby up with the RF 16mm f2.8, which is a really wide angle lens. So you're not really going to notice the crop at all. It's non-existent. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect anything. And I also use the RF 1435, 14 to 35 L lens from Canon with this thing, and it's amazing video, guys. And yes, it does not have IBIS. You don't have in-body image stabilization, which is not a deal breaker either. It has digital image stabilization in the software, which is pretty good actually. I've used it many times and I got some really good smooth footage, out of it. So not having the IBIS is not a big deal because you still have, digital image stabilization. The only thing, it crops in just a little bit more when you use that. You have two settings. You got standard and you got enhanced. The enhanced is going to crop in a little bit more, but again, paired up with the wide angle lens, you're not going to have a problem. You're not even going to notice it. It's not going to bother you. It's not going to affect anything. You can still do what you need to do with this thing, And yeah, so pretty much I got the small rig cage on here, for the Canon EOS R. Got this small rig cold shoe adapter right here for the Atomos, and then I also have the small rig cage on the Atomos, because I like it being really sturdy and reliable. I don't want anything breaking on me. And the reason why I don't mount this to the actual camera is because this thing has a lot of weight to it, and I don't want to break my hot shoe mount on my camera, you know, so it's not a good thing. It's better to have the cage mounted on here. That way you can maneuver this thing really well and you don't have to worry about anything breaking, you know. Yeah, because this thing weighs a lot. It's going to break your camera, most definitely, you know. Let me spin it around. So yeah, you can basically have it face forward like this. You can adjust it to any angle you want that fits your needs, you know. And you can spin it around, have it facing you, you know, vlogging style, you know. But who's gonna vlog with this big thing on there? You know, that's kind of funny. You know, people are gonna be looking at you like you're crazy or something. But anyways, yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this video, guys. If you have any questions about anything about this camera or the Atomos, you know, go ahead and comment down below and I'll be sure to answer all your questions.